Good afternoon. This is a hearing of the Chatham Conservation Commission being held on November 1st, 2023, in accordance with the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and the Town of Chatham Wetlands Protection Bylaw and Regulations. My name's Janet Williams and I serve as the chair. Today's hearing is being broadcast live on Channel 8 and is being recorded for the on-demand archives available on the town's website. It's being conducted in person, by phone, and by video conference. The agenda, instructions on how to attend, and copies of documents for review are posted on the town's website. So to all participants, whether attending by phone or online, please remain muted unless you've been recognized by the chair. When recognized, please identify yourself for the record. If you're attending by phone, you can mute and unmute by using *6. And if you're online and you're not a commissioner, we ask that you please keep your camera turned off until you've been recognized. You should indicate that you wish to speak by using the raise hand feature. And so that we have a record of a quorum attending today, I'll now ask each commission member to identify their presence. Vice Chair Karen Latin.
Present.
Bob Rawls.
Present.
Bob Delvecchio.
Present.
Mary Sullivan.
Present.
Elise Gordon.
Present.
Cheryl Maservi.
Present.
And I'm here. We have established a quorum, and we are ready to go. Before we begin the agenda, are there any announcements about any requests for continuances for today? Paul.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, Commissioners. The certificate of compliance request for 31 Thayer Lane, there are 3 of them. Those will be continued to next week, November 8th. 77 Geranium, the enforcement order will be continued to December 13th. And as far as I know, Crystal, I don't think, is there anything else? I believe that's it.
Okay.
That's all I know of.
Okay, so if you
Yep.
are here for any of those, they won't be heard today. And with that, Paul Whiteman, the acting conservation agent, will now lead us through the agenda that is being heard.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First on the agenda is a review of a draft request for an order of conditions. The address is 513 Stage Harbor Road. The applicants are John Evans and Elaine DeMonopoulos, map 14A, parcel 11-92. DEP SE number 103646. The project is proposed building modifications and addition and associated site improvements. That is the project.
All right, thank you, Paul. Once again, I'm not going to be participating in this one, so I will hand it off to Vice Chair Karen Latin to lead the conversation about if we are ready to finalize and approve this order of conditions.
We received new plans on October 30th, I believe, yes. And I am just curious if anyone we received the plans, new plans on October 30th, and I'm wondering if there are any additional comments from the commissioners at this point. Bob?
Yeah, I guess I will say that the plans that we received, I thought we were going to be receiving a landscape / foundation planting plan. And it's still entitled mitigation plan, which is a duplicate title for the mitigation plan submitted later on by Blue Flags. So there's a little confusion there for me. So we have 2 mitigation plans, and I think one of them really should be retitled.
Let me just ask, is there do we have a document called a foundation planting plan? Because I wrote that on the order last week.
From what I can tell, I think that's the one that's called mitigation planting plan. And then Blue Flags has the mitigation and restoration plan, which gives detail as to what they're planting. The other does list a lot of plants, doesn't say where they're going or the amount that are going in. Is there a rep?
Is there anybody representing this project here today?
Should be online, I think. Yes.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
Do you have any
He
comments?
came and he went.
I saw you, now I don't.
I'm looking at the list.
Dum-de-dum-dum.
Do you know the name of the?
Well, it's from Polhemus.
Yeah, I don't.
It is,
You really should have him on board when we talk about this.
yeah. Is there anyone available to discuss this from Polhemus?
I thought it was Sean Riley.
Well, yeah.
No, he's from Coastal, but this regards the mitigation and planting plans were done by Polhemus,
Yes.
somebody there.
Coastal did the
Oh,
Yep,
site plan, but Polhemus did this additional
right. Do we have
planting plan.
Do we have the name of a person from Polhemus who was working on
Not
this?
on here.
Uh,
Drawn by J.H. I don't know who that is.
Yeah, I think there's some confusion, like Bob said. I think Sean was in charge of the project, and
Sean, are you on?
Nope,
Madam Chair, if you want to table it, I'll
Yep,
run
I
out
think
and grab.
so.
yep, can you,
Yeah,
give a
we'll
call,
call.
see if we can get somebody. Yep, we will move
We'll
on
do
and
that.
hold that
All right,
Okay.
until the end today, so they have a good hour or two before they need to come back. Thank you.
okay.
All right,
Motion to table.
moving on.
Okay. All right, moving on. Requested, the next thing on the agenda is a request for an extension order, 0 and 284 Kendrick Road, Tim Reese, map 14K, parcel 9-7 and 12C-483, DEP SE 103275. The proposed project is proposed elevation of a home to be FEMA compliant, a foundation and associated septic work. And we received a letter requesting extension so they can perform further nourishment, repair the erosion, and establish beach grass.
Okay, I think we're normally willing to provide an extension, particularly when it's to allow the vegetation that's been installed another season to establish itself. This is the second extension, Paul?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
All right, so with this, it'll expire in November of 2024. Does anybody have any questions or concerns about it? All right, motion?
I move that we extend the order of conditions for 0 and 284 Kendrick Road to November 29th, 2024.
Gordon, second.
Roll call vote, Bob?
Aye.
Elise?
Aye.
Karen?
Aye.
Bob?
aye.
Cheryl?
Aye.
Mary?
aye.
And I vote aye, that's unanimous, that's been extended.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. Next on the agenda is a field change request, 610 Stage Harbor Road. This is the town of Chatham, map 13A, parcel 24-11, DEP SE 103624. The project is to rotate proposed structure 90 degrees and shift to a new location on the site. The building footprint was reduced by approximately 59 square feet. And there's a fence that's been added. I believe Jeff Gregg is maybe online to address this. Jeff, you there? Should be.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, Jeff Gregg
No,
from
just hold on for a
GHD.
second. Excuse me for a second. I'm going to step out and try to contact Polimus. So if you don't hear from me.
Okay,
we'll do that.
we'll do it, we'll take
All
up.
right.
Okay, thank
Okay.
you.
Yep.
Yes, hello there. Jeff?
Hi, Jeff Gregg from GHD, representing Town of Chatham on this project. So we were proposing, we were requesting a field change for the work as described. We had the order of conditions issued, and we ended up just having to move the building based on feedback through the Zoning Board of Appeals. And so therefore, we'd like to see if we can get this field change approved to move forward with, I guess, a revised order of conditions or the acceptance of the field change. I'm not sure what the
No, it's
formal
it's just a
process is.
field change. It doesn't require a change of the order of conditions. So as
Oh,
you describe
okay,
it in the
good.
letter, it's going to reduce the coverage by 59 square feet, less than. And the other is that you're swapping out, instead of the articulating concrete mat, it's being put into as a geogrid, which actually is more
Yeah,
pervious than the concrete mat.
Yeah, so we'll still have the articulated concrete mat from the roadway to roughly the station. If you wanted me to share the plan, I could show you. And then the back part of the driveway where we had the articulating mat continuing, we've changed that portion to the geogrid material.
Okay. Questions, comments?
This is probably not a question for you, Jeff, but I do remember that when we talked about these pump stations, there were agreements to provide compensating mitigation in other areas, and now that with the departure of our Director of Natural Resources, I don't want that to get lost. And I can't remember if we had mitigation for all three of them. We may have. If anyone has notes.
believe so.
Yeah. So,
So
go ahead. No, go ahead.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. Yes, so we are the Oyster Pond condos. We have mitigation down at that site, and I'm trying to remember the other,
The old Queen Anne Road pump station site.
And isn't there Mill
Oh,
Pond?
And Mill Pond.
yeah.
Yep.
And Mill Pond, yep. I do know at Mill Pond that the abutter had also requested some landscaping, so we'll have to see what that what their additional landscaping is that they were looking for. I believe that the mitigation that we were looking at around Oyster Pond condos is kind of was a larger area, so we were looking to mitigate in that location.
Okay, I think we have if we don't, we will shortly have a list that we'll keep, a running list of the projects, the mitigation requirements, and then look to, I guess, the new Director of Natural Resources in conjunction with DPW to come back to us with a proposal for how the mitigation will be accomplished for all these projects.
Okay.
Okay,
I'll go through and see if I can tally it.
thank you. That would be great. All right, any other comments or questions on this? Then we need a motion to approve the request for a field change.
I move that we approve the request for a field change for 610 Stage Harbor Road.
Gordon, second.
Roll call vote. Bob?
Aye.
Elise?
Aye.
Karen?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Cheryl?
Aye.
Mary?
Aye.
And I vote aye. That's unanimous. That's been approved. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you all very much.
You're welcome. All right, close that. I think Paul is on the phone, so I'll just read it. The following application is a request for a determination of applicability, 51, oh God, I didn't pronounce it. Alphamets Lane, Port Fortune LLC, map 16C, parcel 9A, R-23-13, installation of an electric generator within land subject to coastal storm flowage. Yep, and David Clark is here.
Good afternoon, David Clark, on behalf of the applicants. This is a pretty simple project. They want to install a generator within the existing yard. It's a densely populated area. There's not much wildlife habitat on the property. It's either turf lawn or ornamental plantings. it's going in an area of the yard where there are other mechanical systems now. They went to zoning board of appeals last week and got the special permit from them to place it within the setback. But now, this is the last step.
Okay, thank you. All right, questions on this one? I'll start with Karen.
I actually don't have any because it is a very densely populated property and I just don't see that there is another option. You know, and it's already been approved by ZBA and so I appreciate the effort to put it wherever you could.
Cheryl, Bob?
David, is any room, I mean, I looked at the site, and there are a couple of, I think, akuba plants near the foundation, but is there any way you could put a couple of
Yeah.
natives in that area? I know it's tight. There's a Norway maple tree right there above.
I can ask. I know, although ZBA approved it, Jay Briggs asked for it to be moved a little bit. I think it was a building code issue more than anything else. But if there's a place to put some more plantings, I'm sure they'd be happy to do that.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
So is the location what we're seeing in front of us now, or is it a slightly different location?
By feet in one
Okay.
direction, not a different area of the property.
Okay. Questions?
I have one. This is a flood zone, right?
Yes.
So is it being raised at all, or does it need to be raised?
Apparently, a generator does not have to be raised.
It does not?
So it won't be raised.
Okay.
In fact, I don't think ZBA would approve it raised. Don't really know why, but, okay.
Is this natural gas?
Yes.
Okay. All right, thanks.
Does that, are the gas lines existing, or does that have to be?
They are existing, yes.
Okay. Okay. Okay, so then we need any other comments or questions? It's a negative determination. I'm gonna say it's 2 because it's not in the buffer zone, it's in the floodplain.
It's in a floodplain.
-2.
Okay. I move that we approve the request for determination of applicability for 51 Eliphametz Lane with a -2 determination.
Gordon, second.
Roll call vote, Bob?
Aye.
Elise?
Aye.
Karen?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Cheryl?
Aye.
Mary?
Aye.
And I vote aye, that's approved.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Back again, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you, Paul.
Welcome. You ready?
Yep.
Okay, next on the agenda is a notice of intent application. The address is 28 Cranberry Lane. The applicants are Richard and Jill Pepper, map 15J, parcel 18, DEP SE 10 3653. The project is for the demolition of an existing dwelling and construction of a new dwelling within the buffer zone to a bordering vegetated wetland. That's the project.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, David. David Clark, Clark Engineering. On behalf of the Teppers, also with me is the architect group, Mark Sangillo, and he's on the line. They are also responsible for the landscape plan and the mitigation plan. So the wetland resources that affect this property, there's a isolated wetland to the northwest that is a vernal pool, and it's certified by the state of Massachusetts. We had Blue Flags go out there and delineate the edge of it, and they basically use the leaf staining method to determine the high water mark, and those are the 3 points that we show. The other wetland is an old cranberry bog that is well overgrown. It's just off the property to the west. I said northwest to the vernal pool, I meant northeast, sorry. The property's been developed since the early 50s with a small, very small, single-family dwelling. The Teppers wish to demolish that dwelling and build a new one. Along with that, they're going to remove all the sheds that are on the property. Former owner was an avid automobile enthusiast and loved working on cars and had places to store parts and things like that. But all those sheds will be removed. The existing house is served by a cesspool, so we have to upgrade to Title V. We have that system as far away from the resource area as possible. The soils in this location are some of the worst in Chatham. We went down, I think, 12 feet or so before we got into sand. So it will require a substantial overdig, but again, it's as far away from the resource area as possible. Other aspects of the project is that we're reducing the driveway area. Right now, there's a large circular driveway, and we're tightening that up. We're also providing a new parking area, but that, again, is outside of the 100-foot buffer to the Old Cranberry Bog. We are increasing site coverage between the 50 and 100, but there's also a reduction in the 0 to 50. So they don't offset each other, but we have provided a variance for being over the 35% coverage within the 50 to 100. Mark is here to talk about the landscape and restoration plan, but if you have any questions on the site plan, I'd be happy to answer.
I'm going to give it over to my wife, the landscape architect, Susan.
Okay. Hello?
Hello, can
Hi.
you hear me?
Yes, is that Susan? Yes.
This is Susan.
Yep.
Yeah, actually, Mark, can we start with, I think, L2, which shows the tree removal?
I'll stop sharing and you can share if that's,
Mark, you-
Okay, well, I can, but maybe it'd be easier whoever's running the board now to do it.
okay.
Is that all right? I mean,
well, we can do L1 first if you, it doesn't really matter.
Who's going to do the sharing?
Well, I'm sharing right now, but
All right.
what is it that you would like to see?
Tree removal plan.
It just seems like maybe that's a better place to start.
I would agree that starting, I know that of this
There we go.
project, yes, a lot of the questions have to do with the tree removal plan.
Right.
So that would be the best place to start, so go ahead.
There we have it. So this is the existing conditions with the trees, predominantly pitch pine. There's one white pine, and then there are two cherry trees. So there's a total of 13 trees that would need to be removed as identified by the arborist from Save a Tree. So if you take a look at the plan there, the grouping right there in the 100-foot zone, trees A, B, C, E, and F. Those tree F is actually a white pine. The rest are all pitch pines, and all of these, basically all the evergreens, are in varying states of decline. Basically from the turpentine beetle. I think tree A and tree M are tree A, M, and H are probably the worst, but they're all showing signs of remnant knobs and sap puddling. So it was Jeremy's recommendation that we remove them because at this point, they're 50 to 60 years old. Most of them are 70 feet plus in height. Some of them have already started to show some pull on one side or the other where the grade's giving and they're leaning a bit. And for the most part, the foliage is only in the top 15 feet of the tree. So there's that reason. And then also when we realign or consolidate the driveway area, there are new, is that me?
No, I'm not sure. Keep going. We'll see. We'll try to isolate that.
So there's some grading that would have to happen in that area. And then,
And that's, I'm sorry, that's area H? That's tree H?
the ones that would be affected by that would be trees E, F, and D. And then there's also, if you've been out there, some of them have been misshapen and are kind of engulfed in bittersweet and have quite a bit of dead wood in them. So the recommendation is to remove all of those basically on there. It's a small site. It's just over 16,000 square feet, and one of the other problems is that the trees and the clusters are basically 10 feet or less apart. So they're in nature large trees that really are kind of too close together to begin with. So given the state of decline for the ones that are identified here on the plan, it was his recommendation that we remove them. And 4 of the trees are greater than 15-inch caliper at breast height. So that would need a replication of a 2-to-1 ratio. The other 9 are 15 inches or less. So that would require a total of 17 replacement trees. And our mitigation landscape plan is providing 24 trees as mitigation.
Okay.
If I'm in a butter and I have a question, am I allowed to ask it at this point?
Not quite yet. Let's finish with the presentation, and then we'll be going to questions from commissioners and then questions from people online. So you will get your chance. Susan, let me just back you up a second, because there's an issue with the narrative in the tree removal plan. To make it consistent, it starts off with, it says 11 trees need to be removed, 10 are less than 15-inch DVH, and 1 is greater. And then at the end, it says exactly what you had just said, that it's 13, 9 are 15 or less, and 4 are greater than 15. That's the correct, can you?
That's correct. And that language you'll find on page 15. I had put this together before I met Jeremy on site, and he actually made the recommendation that we add the two additional trees to be removed, tree J and M. So I apologize, the front cover sheet didn't get updated, but the correct language is on number 15, and I will correct that and resubmit that to you.
Okay, thank you. Just wanted to make sure that we have the latest figure. Okay, I'm sorry, go on. I didn't mean to interrupt you, so.
And the only other thing is that there are 2 trees that will remain on the site, and both of them are outside of the buffer zone. One's a large pitch pine, and the other is a sycamore maple over on the northeast, or actually southeast property line. So those are the 2 that will remain, and that's pretty much it for tree removals.
Okay, and let's just pause right there, and I think people will have questions about the tree removal aspect of this proposal. So before we move on to anything else in mitigation, I want to give folks a chance to ask their questions. I'll start over here. Elise, Bob?
Well, I have questions, but I think everybody has questions, but I'm just going to sit back for a moment. That'll be fine.
Okay, Elise?
I'm happy with the ratio of replacement. I think 24 trees going in for 17 is terrific. But it's, I want to listen to my colleagues' input on the necessity to remove as many as the 17. It seems like almost a clear cut to me. So I'd really like to understand the rationale as much as possible before we weigh in on it or vote on it.
Thank you. Okay, over here, Karen?
I agree, it seems like the loss of the whole canopy. So that's, I don't know what to do about that, if there's some way to selectively leave some of the trees or some of the groupings so that there's at least still some shade in the area.
It seems to me, and maybe you can explain better why L, J, and K are being removed when they're, I think, not in the way of any of the new structure. I get why M is being removed because of the driveway, and I think because of utilities, if I'm correct. I am concerned about the number being removed and whether they all truly have to be. I mean, pitch pines, from what I see, normally, their lower branches, they do lose their lower branches. So not having lower branches doesn't seem to be a deal breaker for removing them. Can you speak to any of that?
Yeah, I could, the trees back along the property line, again, let's see, L and K are both pitch pines, and those had quite a bit of, in particular L, has a substantial lean on it towards the neighbor's fence. That was one, and also they do have signs of the turpentine beetle, which really based on the proximity, these are all so close together. Anything that is out there is pretty much infected with them, with varying degrees of, decline. I would say those aren't quite as bad as some of the ones in the grouping cluster tighter together, and also H was pretty bad too. But again, it's more a question of, does it come down now or does it come down in 5 years when it's really further gone than it is now? Let's see. K is also
Pitch pine.
K is also on the property line, and that one also has a substantial lean. And let's see. I believe it. Look at my notes again.
That was worded in.
I mean, I guess I could say we could keep them, but eventually, given on the arborist sort of assessment of it, they're going to need to go. The J is actually a cherry tree, a black cherry,
Right.
and that one, I don't know if you've actually been out to the site or not, but that actually has sort of an S curve in it. And also a substantial lean. I think because they're all sort of crowded back there between the fence, the neighbor's fence, and the old shed. So, and also have quite a bit of, that one has a lot of ivy on it. And let's see what else.
Take it off.
So one thing about trees that have ivy and an S curve, in my opinion, all trees grow differently, they're not all straight, and ivy can be removed and the tree can be given a chance to recover.
I agree.
Yeah, I think black cherries have a tendency also to grow in a curved trunk.
Yes.
Okay, let me ask Bob Delvecchio if he wants to weigh in on this.
Yeah, I mean, I had the same thoughts when I visited the site. And, a lot of those pines are mature, and they do provide ecosystem value for wildlife and what have you. And like we just mentioned, the cherry, the ivy could be removed. That's the growth habit of those black cherries anyway.
The black cherry, I don't have a problem with, we could definitely keep that one if you prefer.
But it seems like you just want to remove all the pines.
Yeah.
The pine,
You know.
pines are an issue. I mean, if we go over to the, proposed planting plan, you'll see that, we're proposing where that major cluster of, 70-foot tall pitch pines are. There's a grouping of 3 new tupelos and, some substantial planting there, that I think will help, fill in a little bit. It's not a 70-foot evergreen tree, but again, it's also a small site with a new driveway location, so.
Yeah, it seems to me that you just want a clean slate. You want to remove all the trees and start from the beginning. But in my mind, these are a benefit to that location and to the wetland. So I would like to maybe go through them individually and selectively look at them and see if there's.
To maybe meet on site with the arborist? So
Do an
we can-
on-site, go past
We
them.
could do it on site, because I think if you go with.
Too hard
We
here
have
on this.
on site, you might see that,
I think that's a good idea. We're struggling to use the maps and the designations, and
Sure.
it is much clearer on site. And I'll just also agree with the observations that, ivy and other vines that grow up trees
Sure.
can and should be removed, and pitch pines almost always lose their bottom branches. It's not a question of that, and in some of those cases, the arborist, that was the only indication I saw. So we'd want to see whether there's real evidence of turpentine beetles and other things that would cause the tree to decline quickly.
we could definitely schedule a site visit.
Okay.
I'm sure he'd be just out there.
All right, I think we will do that. That will be helpful, so we can
Okay.
save some time here.
Crystal.
Yeah, I know, Crystal will take care of it. All right, so with that, I
Should
think
I work with?
Crystal will contact you,
Okay, perfect.
and we'll arrange
Can
it.
the abutter make a comment at this time?
Is it about the trees?
Yes.
Okay, then identify yourself for the record, please, and you may go ahead.
This is Amy Crane. I'm an abutter at 16 Cranberry. So the property has an easement over the north end of our property before entering into its property.
Okay,
So a couple comments just in terms of the tree removal. I'm not sure D is actually on their property. So that would be something I would want to investigate. I'm physically in Connecticut now, so I'm not in a position, but based on the records that I see, that is on our property. I would also comment that M is most likely on a butter's land. It's not my land, but that a butter has an easement over their property for the driveway. So just because there's a driveway there doesn't mean that it is owned by the purchaser. My third comment for tree removals is L and K. They're very close to the abutter in the north, and I don't know if they're on the call at all, but I would expect that they would want to have the screening in place because of this, how close they are to the southern part of their border. And secondly, related to that, the abutter to the north has an easement to their land. So this whole plan does not take into consideration if they so choose to access their property through our land and over this property that's no longer in place. So as you see here, what's posted is you come in directly off Cranberry and then it bifurcates to the left. The left portion went through by where that illegal shed is, and that is access to that property. So if you put land, all the property, landscaping that is proposed, I think you would need to make sure that the easement has been relieved, and if that has been relieved, that'd be great. I would love to have a copy of that for our own records, so we can update our easement records.
Okay, is that it?
That's it on trees.
Yep, thank you, thank you. We've noted all that, and David's making notes and about the comments you've made with respect to the easement. Do you want to respond now, David, or do you want to look into it some more?
No, there's an easement there, but it hasn't been used in quite a long time. So, but we will reach out to the neighbor to the north and see what the disposition, what they're, obviously they rebuilt their house and have access from another location at this point, but we'll look into it.
Okay. Yeah, that will need to be resolved in one way or another. Okay, then I think, Susan, we're going to hold on talking about the mitigation plan
Okay,
until we've had the on-site, because that may change depending on what the end result is in terms of tree removal. I have a question for David, as I'm looking at it, that, do you see on the plan that's on the board, the oval kidney-shaped circle?
Yes,
What is that?
a detention area. So it's just a
So-
shallow depression to keep stormwater runoff from getting into the wetland.
And is that going to be retained, or is that going to be filled?
That is going to, that shows an excavation. So
So it doesn't exist yet?
it does not exist. That's a
Uh-huh.
proposed contour.
Okay, so it's got the solid contour. And there was a reference to, is that one of the trees was being removed because of grading, H?
correct.
And
That's one of them, yes.
what is, so is that the same, is that in the area where you're gonna be creating that,
Yes. Yeah, you'd see
yeah,
it's
H
on
is right
on-
along the 50
yeah.
line, so that's right inside that?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, I can reshape that if that tree is going to remain, so
okay.
that there's no regrading in that, no,
Yeah, because there doesn't
around
seem
the
to be
tree.
any other justification for that tree removal other than that it's in the way of the grading, so.
That one is actually one of the, ones that was identified as pretty far in decline with the turpentine beetle. But, again, we'll look at it on site.
Okay, yeah, I don't see that on here. Okay. All right, let's move on then from the tree removal to other questions and issues. David, I just want to confirm, the proposed driveway material, is it crushed stone or shell?
It'll be-
Crushed stone?
Some type of pervious material, yeah.
Crushed stone or shell, okay. Yep. Did the discrepancy. So on the vernal pool, we don't often get these. So the grading that is going to be done on the northeast side and the retaining wall that's going to be, will that have any impact on the current flow of water, stormwater into the pool, increasing it or decreasing it?
It will decrease it slightly, and we're providing stormwater controls for the dwelling itself. Given that it's heavily vegetated, once you get off the property, it's unlikely that there's much surface raw water runoff now that's contributing to that. But yes, one of the purposes of the wall is to prevent any runoff from the yard, from the former landscaping areas, from getting off property in that location.
Okay, so any of that change won't have an impact on the viability of that pool?
I don't think so. It was, given the wet year we had, there wasn't a lot of water in there when I looked at it. And I I'll have to find the dates that Blue Flax was out there, but it was not during the height of the summer, I don't think.
Okay, well,
Again, we didn't do a vernal pool analysis because it's already certified, so there was no
Yeah.
sense in doing
right.
the
No, I was gonna
biology end of it.
Put something in the order of conditions that, to make sure that there is no disruption in the functioning of it as a vernal pool. And that it has a source of surface water to keep it. I'm gonna turn it over to other people with questions, Bob.
No, just one. In your materials, David, I think you referred to a 200-foot NDZ to the vernal pool, which I think is not correct.
If I did, that's a mistake.
Okay, all right.
I mean, there's vernal pool habitat, which is 100 feet from the vernal pool, and I believe,
I just wanted to make sure there's some reg I'd forgotten about.
yeah.
Anything else, Bob?
As an, I have a question whether the driveway is showing additional grass being added to it. Right now, it's a dirt and shell driveway. Could someone address what is the plan there?
The access road to,
Someone-
20 Cranberry Street?
Right, it shows, see that long rectangular shape? It has in somewhere that it's grass. Currently, basically, it's,
It's dirt now.
right, so again, for our property, which that's our property, the first part off Cranberry, we would not be in support of adding, grass to that. We would keep it exactly as it is.
We could do it all shell or crushed stone and eliminate the dirt in the middle, which was to be proposed lawn. Would you rather see the continuous road?
Yeah, it needs to be, what is it, impervious, I believe?
Yeah,
No, pervious.
Or
Pervious.
pervious, whatever.
It needs to be pervious, yeah.
Yes,
so you would prefer that we don't leave the lawn, those were lawn strips, we sort of kept that because that
oh, is
was
that what those
the
are?
original character.
That's what
Yeah.
There's, yeah, you'll see it when you go. There's no lawn there. It's,
Not anymore, yeah.
All right. So let's just clarify, what is proposed and what the commission is prepared to approve is the driveway as configured, made with crushed stone or shell so that it's pervious. No vegetation.
On the
So not
portions that are
along-
off-site,
Right,
yeah.
okay.
Change that.
All right. All right, other questions?
I have one.
Go ahead, Karen.
As far as it's pushed.
On.
As far as the driveway, the little semicircle or the circle, why do we need all of that when it seems the driveway also has an area just south of the new home that looks pretty decently sized, and so I'm wondering why we need both, especially since a good portion of that circle is in the NDZ.
Well, it's already in the NDZ.
I know,
Yeah,
and
so-
I know you're making it smaller, but we have an opportunity to make it even less impactful if we can. So that's why I'm asking, because there does seem to be quite a bit of parking and driveway right south of the building.
I mean, I guess the owner was sort of looking for an arrival area because the other road is really, it's more of an access road for both properties for 28, and then behind it is 26. Right now, 26 actually parks their car cars in a lawn area, just off of the driveway or access road. That's what we propose that, so it's, specific to this 28 property, entry area.
So you're saying then that 26 parks in that area that's south of the home that you're proposing? It seems like there's a large area that's being proposed there as well, which I think is new.
The parking at the proposed house is new. There is some parking there now, but no, the 26 Cranberry actually parks in the lawn area right now. So there's, it's more to give them their own sort of designated entry, arrival, drop off.
Well, I'm not questioning the driveway part. I'm questioning the part that comes off of the driveway that looks like it's an area for cars to park.
It was part, the V, as you come in, the V to the left.
No, excuse me, sorry, interrupting you, but who is speaking? We can't tell.
This is Amy Crane from 16 Cranberry.
Okay.
And I'm just giving you the history for it, right? As you went in, the one to the right went to the Merrill, to 28 and to 26. The one to the left went to 32. So if 32 assessment is going away, or the easement is going away, then there's no reason that they should be going over our property, not one way, but two ways.
But I'm asking about a new parking area that's south of their home, and then they also have the circular drive, and
Absolutely. I'm saying the circular drive, part of it, a third going up, going north, is on our property. So I agree. The only reason that it was there was for the 32 Cranberry easement. So if that's going to go away, they should actually get rid of the whole semicircle, because the easement calls for access to their property, not multiple access to their property.
I guess maybe we need the easements on the plan as well, because
The easements are where the travel surface is now. It's not defined.
It's defined as a cart path, to be specific, if you looked at it.
Okay. Well, anyway, that's my concern, Susan, and David, is that there is quite a bit of driveway still in NDZ, and we have an opportunity to maybe make it tighter, or, if you didn't make it a circle, and you had a couple spots that were in the 50 to 100, that would be better than putting it in NDZ. Not that I'm saying how to do it, but it's my concern. And I'll just stop with that.
That's fine, thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Just one thing, we didn't discuss, David, your variance language for coverage in the outer R, but I think given all the things that we're talking about here, things may change, so maybe we can circle back to that later.
Yeah, that was prepared by Susan, so I will, so
Okay.
when things change, that will change.
That may or may not affect
Yep.
that, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yep. All right, so we're going to schedule an on-site for trees. David, are you considering that you'll have another look at the configurations of the driveway and how it affects?
I'll work with Susan on.
Okay. What else?
The easement issues.
That's what I mean, that's in that,
Yeah.
because the easement is the driveway. And also look into whether the easement to the property to the north can be released, which would simplify some of that.
Does this discussion also cover the footage from the wetlands to the proposed new structure, or is that for planning and zoning next week?
That is part of the plan. You're talking about the setback distance, 50 feet and 100 feet back
Yeah,
from the?
right, so the wetlands regulations have always been that you'd need to be 100 feet. The previous, tenant was at 62 feet from the wetlands. The proposal is to be 40 feet from the wetlands, which seems to be going in the wrong direction from a perspective of
Right.
what we want. So again,
Actually, the coverage within, so the setbacks are divided, the first 50 feet, 0 to 50, and then the second 50 to 100. And then I take my notes, but I believe in this one, this results in a decrease in the amount of coverage in that first 50 feet by 157 square feet less.
right.
And an
but
increase
that's-
and that's
That's
accompanied.
assuming that the 4 sheds that were on the property were there legally, which they were not.
That's neither here nor there from our perspective, from conservation. It's just that counts as coverage, so removing them, we don't have
Okay.
any insight into whether they were permitted or not. Probably not in the past, but
But you have, okay, regardless of that, if you used all the numbers that are in the proposal, the coverage is 60% increase. So it goes up by 1,121 feet when the original, and this is again based on the numbers that are in the package that was posted, of 1,840. That's a 60% increase in the footprint. You know, that includes the driveway and patio as well as house.
right. Yep, we see that, and the compensation for that increase that's being offered is 3,182 square feet of mitigation. And that includes, and there's also 4,000 square feet of lawn removal, and removal of invasive vegetation and planting of native vegetation. We haven't gotten into that yet because we won't do that until we are clear on what the final coverage is and what the trees that are being removed are. So once we get all that clarified, we will move forward onto what the mitigation, which is a form of compensation for that impact, should be.
Right, okay, and as an abutter, I would just propose, I mean, the buyers were aware when they bought it, is that their approval could be based on the current footprint, or one bedroom septic, I believe. So the fact that they're moving from 60 feet from your wetlands to 40 feet from your wetlands goes against what we would support.
Okay?
Yeah,
Duly
well,
noted.
well, just for point of clarification, I think she's misreading the plan. The existing house is almost 90 feet from the wetland, actually a little more, and we're proposing to be just around 70 from the wetland. I think the numbers she's reading are the setbacks to the property line.
No, I'm looking at I'm looking at whatever's on your screen. It says 62.2 exist.
Yep, that's to the property line. The wetland's a lot further away than that.
Okay, so you're looking at the red line is the 100,
And the
demarcation, right? So the old
Correct.
house had a corner of it, and now we're looking at half the house being before, between 50 and 100.
yes.
That's the part that I'm objecting to.
Okay. We hear it. So, we'll have to schedule the on-site, so we need to continue this to a date that would take that into consideration sometime after that. Probably gonna take a couple weeks to get that scheduled. I'm looking at maybe December 6th.
For the date or for?
Yes, for the next hearing, assuming that that's 5 weeks from today, that would give us ample time to schedule and conduct an on-site and get clear on the trees. Does that work? And if it doesn't, if for any reason,
It should be fine with
it
me.
should be
so
fine,
it-
yeah. Susan, does that seem all right?
We can definitely, do it by then, for sure.
Okay. Then we will continue this to December the 6th.
I
you.
move that we continue 28 Cranberry Lane to the meeting on December 6th, 2023.
Gordon, second?
Roll call vote. Bob?
Aye.
Elise?
Aye.
Karen?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Cheryl?
Aye.
Mary?
Aye.
And I vote aye, so that's unanimous. We will continue this to December the 6th. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I was able to get somebody from De Silva. Rob Caldero's online, so you can go back to 513 Stage Harbor if you'd like to do that.
Yep. Let's do that quickly. All right, who had the questions about what we were looking
Might have been me, I don't know.
at? It was to the two of you.
Yeah. So are you there?
Who is online?
I'm here,
Okay.
Rob Calderaro, Polima Savory De Silva.
All right.
Happy
thank-
to answer any questions you have.
All right. Just trying to recollect back to the previous meeting where we were asking for certain things, and one of which I thought we were looking for is more detail on the non-mitigation part of the plan. In other words, what we sometimes refer to as the foundation/landscaping plan. And we got a revised plan from PSD, I guess today, at least as first I saw it.
Yesterday.
Yesterday, okay. It is labeled a mitigation planning plan, but I'm thinking that that is really what we call the Blue Flags plan, because they have laid out the actual mitigation. So,
Okay.
so I think that's one thing, just for the record, I'm thinking we should not be calling this the mitigation plan. Nevertheless, I just want to get some clarity on it. The change in the plan appears to be one thing that we asked for, which is the list of plants, which is good. And those all appear to be straight natives, or more, well, mostly, I think they are, yeah. And so is it the intent that that palette of plants is what will be used for all foundation plants / landscape plants in the NDZ and the outer aura?
It is, yes, based on the percentages that are outlined on the plan.
So in other words,
So within,
okay, go ahead.
so within that 50 to 100, for instance, it would be 75% native plant material.
So 75% of the plants in the outer aura would be drawn from this list.
That's correct. And then 100% would be drawn from this list, or if there are availability issues or what have you, it would be certainly something that we would put forward in front of the conservation agent prior to any planting or approval of the plan.
I didn't quite follow your reference to 100% there. What did you mean by that?
From the 0 to 50,
Okay,
that would be the 100%.
I got it,
As
okay.
required.
Okay. That's all I have. Others may have more.
Well, the only question I have is there a reason that you didn't give us an idea of how many plants were going to go into this area, the 50 to 100, that's 75% native? And you just gave a list, which, as you said, the conservation agent will have to approve. I mean, we usually have it on the plans so that when eventually you ask to close this order, we know what was going in and where.
Yeah, so there are a couple of notes here, and one of the things I want to point out is that we have included spacings of the plants and the size of the plants, and that really kind of dictates the amount of plants that are going to go in that area. So we're certainly not going to do any spacing greater than that. There may be less.
Right.
Therefore, the amount of plants may vary. So
And I
when
understand
providing a
that.
list-
But
Okay.
normally, it's on the plan so that eventually somebody who is going out to verify that what should have been done has been done, it's on the plan and they can verify it. So if you could,
So,
and I understand spacing, I understand size, but I'm just wondering why you chose not to do that.
not to provide the quantities,
Well, and show where they
largely
will be
because-
placed. You know the size of the areas because they're in that dark green, correct?
that's correct?
And so you know the size of the areas, you know the plants that you potentially want to use, you just aren't specifying where they're going.
Right, the commission agreed that a list would be what you would like, so we provided a list. The last note also on that plan does state that the final plant selection, we could add in plan, will be submitted to the commission, for approval by the conservation agent prior to planting, if that would suffice.
So in other words, an effective as-built planted plan after.
Not an as-built, but prior to planting, a plan that the agent can review and approve.
Okay.
Uh,
We've done things like this before. It just,
Okay.
it just depends on the scope of the plan.
Well, and
This is a
given that-
fairly,
I mean, it's not a huge area.
Yeah.
I get it. I'm just concerned because, of course, as agents change, and we've had that happen, if it's being submitted as a plan to the agent, can it go into the records so that when they ask for a certificate, the agent will have that, even though it's not a part of the original order? I've never, I haven't had to deal with that.
yeah, I think it could be added to the official record, so.
Okay, as long as
You
it
tell
can
me,
get added.
you correct me, Paul, if that's not true.
As long as you don't close the hearing.
Ah,
Aha,
Put anything
good point.
Yep.
thank you.
Can't we put it in the order of conditions, that they have to obtain the
Yeah.
approval of the agent prior to moving forward with the actual
Yes.
installation of the plants? Okay,
Yes.
we can do that.
So if we do that, can we close the order?
Close the hearing.
Close the hearing and approve the order, or?
Yes,
because
it's in the
already in
order.
the order of
It's in the order.
conditions?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, just want to make sure that we're covered and can figure it out later.
Okay, so that's what we'll do. We're putting in here a requirement that they have to obtain the approval of the agent as to the species, number, locations of the mitigation plants prior to installation.
Or the foundation plantings as referred to earlier.
Okay,
We refer to it as the Cohemus plan.
yep. All right, with that,
All
any
right.
other questions, comments?
I have a comment. When we talked to Sean at the last hearing, we just mentioned a foundation planting. And this seems to be repetitious because it covers the work that Blue Flax is gonna do too. And it refers to
Well, it
the,
actually calls out in that note of the Blue Flax that you would refer to the Blue Flax plan.
And which note?
yeah, where is that on the
Bullet
plan?
number 2,
It's on the legend.
bullet number
Under
2.
the notes under the legend.
Bullet number 2, yep.
Yeah, because he removed a lot of notes.
Okay, good enough, thank you.
You're welcome, thank you.
All right,
Okay.
now we're ready for a motion to close and approve.
I move that we close the hearing and approve the order of conditions for 513 Stage Harbor Road.
Gordon, second.
Roll call vote, Bob?
Aye.
Elise?
Aye.
Karen?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Cheryl?
Aye.
Mary?
Aye.
And I abstain. Oh, I remembered to do that, so it is, I was worried about that. It is approved. Thank you all very much.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you, you too. All right, Paul, moving on.
Moving on, we back down to the bottom of the page. Next on the agenda is a notice of intent application The address is 111 and 119 Scattery Road. Nicholas Colucci and Eleanor Burton Colucci and Eileen Ryan, map 16J, parcels LC8, and it is SE10 3654. Sorry, I'm reading that. That may be incorrect. Anyway, proposed demolition of an existing dwelling and construction of a new single-family dwelling within the buffer zone to a coastal bank and invasive species control within land subject to coastal storm flowage. And if I mispronounce the DEP number, I apologize, but it's just a technicality.
Okay.
That's the project.
Okay, thank you.
Good afternoon. Bill O'Reilly on behalf of the Colucci family with Dave Clark and
Tom Mulcahy.
Tom Mulcahy, who's the landscape designer. The,
I think somebody from Wilkinson's on.
Madam Chair, can I interrupt just for 1 second?
Yep.
So Ted and I had a conversation with Cole this morning on a couple of issues that he's going to address regarding the Pleasant Bay Alliance restrictions on new docks.
This-
Also,
That's a
the
different
town-
project.
Yep, we're at 111 Scattery.
Oh, I apologize.
That's
yeah.
okay, we have
Okay.
issues on all of these,
All right.
so,
that's, you know, Paul's going 90 miles an hour. That's the way he is, you know?
I'm multitasking and just going crazy here.
yeah.
Anyway.
I know, but we love the hat, Paul. We do love the hat.
Yes.
In
And
any
so
event,
somebody from Wilkinson is on the platform, is that what I'm being,
I believe so.
we think so.
Yes.
and who is that?
Yeah, this is Ian Peach
Ah, yes.
representing the project
Okay.
for Wilkinson.
Hello, okay,
Good afternoon.
gotcha.
All right, great. So we have removal and replacement of the structure. Dave Clark's the engineer. And Mulcahy is landscape design, and Wilkinson is our mitigation specialist. So I'll ask Dave to do the presentation, and we'll go from there.
David Clark, for the record. So right now, the resource areas are a coastal bank, and the coastal bank is located on the east side of the neighbor's driveway, just off the property. And there is an isolated well, not an isolated wetland. There's a vegetated wetland that's along Scattery Road, further to the east. So the existing dwelling is just inside the 100-foot buffer from the top of that bank. The proposal is to tear it down. The new dwelling is to be right up to the 100-foot line, so the only new structures that will be in the 50 to 100 will be the terrace and the patios. There's an existing Title V system that will remain. That's located towards the easterly property line. There is a net increase in the 50, 100-foot buffer of 523 square feet, which is 6.8% of the 50 to 100, which is far below your new 35% maximum without a variance. A majority of the area, well, actually almost all the area where activity is proposed is turf lawn at the moment. I don't believe there are any trees there. And so Tom is here to talk about the landscaping, but I think the location of the house on the property in relationship to the resource areas are pretty clearly defined on the plan. If you have any questions regarding that, be happy to answer them.
I think we'd like to hear the presentation and then circle back
Okay,
to a
great.
foundational question we have.
Tom?
Let me go, okay. Tom Mulcahy, Mulcahy Design Group, landscape designer. As you can see on the proposed site plan, the terrace is natural stone dry set, same as the proposed lower patio. So pervious application. And for my part, the foundation plantings around the terrace and the patios are a combination of native plantings and non-native, non-invasive plantings, which meet the 75% ratio within the outer aurora. And all proposed or disturbed lawn areas will be native drought-tolerant fescue.
Okay. Is that it?
Yep.
Oh, okay, thank you. You need to tell us that. Ian, do you want to go and present the proposed mitigation, please?
I'd appreciate that. Thank you very much. If you're able to toggle to the restoration plan, that would be helpful. For the record, Ian Peach, representing the project for Wilkinson Ecological Design. Primary goal of this project, as you can see, is a substantial improvement to the quantity and quality of the native plant-based vegetated buffer. We're especially excited, I want to note about this project because of the really expansive native plant community restoration done at 119 Scattery to the east. So not always highlighted in this process, but this actually does improve a larger connected corridor for wildlife, improved habitat and biodiversity in a larger area off property. So that's exciting. We've got 523 square feet mitigation required, and we are offering 6 to 1, or approximately that, with 4,400 square feet. So resoundingly beyond the minimum requirement. Currently, also to note, if you haven't seen the site, it really is 100% invaded or almost thereabout. There's a few arrowwood that we'll get the vines off of, but we're predominantly dealing with porcelainberry and then secondarily shrub honeysuckle, multiflora rose, and Asiatic bittersweet. After our typical invasive plant management, we have a robust native plant community design, 45 native shrubs, and no tree removal, but we're offering 5 native trees. So I wanted to highlight that as well. And then again, for that diversity and other ecological benefits on site, we're seeding and plugging herbaceous species along with our typical grasses. So we're thinking grass, forbs, shrubs, trees, going all the way through. In addition, we're taking 200 square feet of lawn as part of the project to really have a nice continuous buffer along there. And overall, I think as you can imagine from a proposal like this, the really things to key in on is this is going to remove invasive plants that will seed off property into the area, take away that potential. We're going to improve biological diversity, which you can see in our specifications for plants, and definitely increase the benefits to wildlife both on and off property in this area of Chatham. Pollen and nectar resources, avian resources for the migrating birds. And then one last thing to note is the increased stormwater absorption by that nice deep-rooted native grass base, as well as a dense planting. So as you can see, we feel it's comprehensive, really net benefit to the area on and off property, and happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Yeah, I have to say that the mitigation that's proposed here is going to result in a vastly improved ecosystem along there. However, that said, so the issue we observed and defined yesterday is that because the mitigation extends onto the abutter's property, the abutter was named the 119 Scattery in the notice of intent,
Yes.
but did not sign the notice of intent and is not listed on any of the plans. They're all simply 119 and including the mitigation plan. So what we think might be the best way to deal with this is rather than have the abutter join in the NOI, which would mean they would join in the order of conditions, which means the order would be recorded against their deed, that you obtain a license agreement from the abutter to allow the owner of 111 to go onto the property to perform, monitor, and manage the mitigation site. We did that in another property.
We included an email from Highland.
Yeah, but
giving
the
permission.
email reads like an abutter approving. It says,
Yeah.
I approve this
we
project.
can-
It doesn't
yeah,
expressly
we-
give permission to go onto her property to perform the
Yeah,
mitigation, which is what.
we'll draft a license.
Right.
You want us to submit it to you before we send it over to the abutter? I know there are attorneys over there too, so.
Sure, why not? Just to make
Okay.
sure, double check that, and I would also, Ian, well, I'll talk about it later. There's another one that has the exact same situation, that this could be the result, this could work for that one too,
Yeah,
but we'll talk about
we
that later.
specifically didn't include her in the NOI because we didn't feel it was her obligation to
That's the
perform these
conundrum you get
activities
into,
and
right,
maintain them.
and that,
And so,
right,
yeah.
because we all,
License
yeah,
will take care
now,
of
yeah,
there are some issues hiding in there, but I think we'll just have to deal with them as we go through this, because maintenance of a mitigation area in an area where there's invasives that could is a perpetual obligation, but that obligation has to go to the owner of 111.
Right.
And so that the license would just have to extend to allow them to do that. I don't know
Yeah.
any easier way to deal with that. Okay, so we will take care of that, so that's.
That's a
yes.
very elegant solution, I might add.
We were pretty happy.
I just have a question about it,
Yeah.
and that is, if the next door changes hands, are they obligated to allow that mitigation to be maintained?
Does the license go with the land?
The last time I checked, which was when I was in law school, the,
Uh-oh.
This property law hasn't changed since then, don't worry.
right, exactly. A license will expire in the change of ownership, so we would have to obtain a second one.
Okay, and that's what I was,
Then we'd have to include that in the order of conditions, that they would have that obligation of
Right.
obtaining that. Okay.
or if they couldn't, we had to lay out what would happen if they couldn't obtain it. They would have to add mitigation onto their property.
They're never going to sell, don't worry about it.
well, I think we can clarify it, that what's happening on the Ryan property isn't mitigation, it's restoration.
Yeah.
So the required
Right.
mitigation will be entirely on 111.
That can be
And
done.
we'll make that distinction, so it's-
Because we have been drawing distinctions between mitigation areas and restoration areas in orders before, and we can do that, so that removes the,
Yeah, good suggestion, David.
You know, you're, just to follow up with that, Dave, which is a good point, that the reason for doing this restoration up to the road is to protect the
mitigation
the
on our
subject's
property, I
So-
understand.
It doesn't make sense to have such a narrow strip between our property line
So
and
if
the
that were,
Ryan
if that
property.
were lost,
Yeah.
you know, if a new owner of the adjoining property didn't agree, then the mitigation on this property would be, but we have language now in our orders, as you know, that requires the owner to maintain the mitigation. It'd just be harder for them if they can't get that agreement with the new owner. That's fine.
okay. Quick question on, does the existing lawn within our jurisdiction is it irrigated?
I don't know the answer to that.
It is.
It is?
It is.
It is.
It currently has irrigation.
Okay, not too bad. And the material for the terrace, the proposed terrace,
Natural stone paving?
dry laid?
Yep.
Okay. All right, let me open it up to questions from commission members.
You've covered mine.
Bob?
So the current lawn has irrigation, but you're proposing no irrigation, correct? No permanent irrigation in the lawn.
1 second, let me just look at the notes. Well, it's a pre-existing condition, so my notes say if it's a pre-existing condition as directed by the town agent. So if it would be allowed to remain, I think the client would prefer it.
Well, but you're taking up all of the existing lawn area anyway for the project to
The existing
proceed.
irrigation will have to be, removed for the project.
Right.
But they would prefer to have irrigation on the lawn.
Well, let me ask you this, so once everything comes up, when they reestablish a lawn, what are they going to use?
For the lawn,
Yep,
as dictated in my notes,
native
native
drought-tolerant fescue,
drought-tolerant fescue.
which only needs temporary irrigation
It
to
only
get.
needs, yes,
So we would, normally our orders would specify that you can use
Yeah, we,
temporary irrigation to get it established, but it shouldn't need any after
it shouldn't
that.
need it. So
Well, let
that's
it-
why I said
yeah,
as
let it,
directed.
but let us check with the client too, please.
Okay.
And I have a question for Ian. Like especially on the north side, are you proposing like a mow strip between the porcelain berry and your plantings?
On the north side, oh, you mean right at the edge? You know, that has come up before with us, and I've kept an eye on it, and I feel confident that, we can successfully manage our area without a mow strip. I've seen that in your conditions. If you want that to be on there, we can work with that. But I'm not as concerned that would be absolutely necessary with our level of care, to be honest with you. How often we're on site for those three years and ongoing.
Okay, all right. I think that's all I had for now, thank you.
All right, thanks, Bob.
Thanks.
Cheryl, you okay? You all set? Bob? Go ahead. Oh, you're set, yes, you're set, Elise. You're all set. Okay, so we have a couple of things we identified that need to be checked and done, and that's, you'll get us a draft of the proposed license agreement, and then
When do you want to come back?
get the abutter to sign on to that. You'll check about
The date for ZBA.
irrigation,
I know,
but it's not necessary. Anything else? This is pretty straightforward.
Oh, actually, I do have something.
Oh.
Sorry.
He's got something.
He's got something. The demarcation of the mitigation area, I guess, Ian, this directly to you, I suppose. We often require it. And in this particular case, it seems that it would be useful to me.
Yes, absolutely. I'm familiar with that. I think in this case, we felt it was pretty clear where we were keeping it with the edge of vegetation, but we've successfully been doing that in projects in Chatham. And I think, again, a standard language of a low permanent stone or bound to mark that, so it's clear into perpetuity. We would be flexible with that.
Okay, good.
Okay, yeah, your choice as to whatever material, just so that,
Okay.
especially where it butts a lawn, so that keep landscapers from wandering into the mitigation area.
Okay, we'll check in with the team if there's a preference for material, but I think the act of doing so, is acceptable.
Okay,
November 16th.
so in terms of continuing this, we can go to looking at the 15th, 2 weeks from today, to get everything.
That'd be fine. We're going to zoning on the 16th.
Okay, that's fine. So what we'll do is we'll finish everything we have to do. We'll hold and wait before issuing the order until zoning is.
As long as you send a nice guy letter, we'll be happy.
We will send a nice letter.
Thank you very much.
All right, so we will continue this to December, what did I say? 15th.
November 15th.
Oh, yeah, my calendar says that. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
I move that we continue 111 and 119 Scottery Road to the meeting on November 16th, 2023.
15th.
I thought we said 16th.
I know, but I'm looking at my calendar. It's the 15th.
15th,
In December, it's the 16th, so let's,
okay. To November 15th.
okay.
Gordon, second.
All right, roll call vote. Bob?
Aye.
Elise?
Aye.
Karen?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Cheryl?
Aye.
Mary?
Aye.
And I vote aye. We will see you back here on November 15th.
Right along.
All right, Paul, moving on to the next.
Okay, next on the agenda is 414 Fox Hill Road. Christopher LaCoy, map 11M, parcel 5-2, NC 103652, proposed dock replacement. Ted and I had a brief conversation with coastal this morning. Rather than make things longer than they need to be, I think he's going to address a couple of issues here. Cole, right? Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Hello, Cole.
So good afternoon. Yeah, good afternoon, Bill Riley on behalf of the LaCroix family. This is a property that's actually had a licensed dock since the 1930s. It had a railway and a 200-foot dock back in the day with the boathouse, so they could crank the boat up into the boathouse. The glory days are gone, so we over the years, the dock has morphed into a shorter structure, and it's in difficult condition. So the LaCroix family wants to replace it with a new modern dock with modern materials. Coastal Engineering, Cole and Don Monroe have done a design, and asked Cole to explain the design to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Cole, go ahead.
Yes, good. May I please share my screen? I have a brief presentation as well as the plans to show.
Sure. Hang on one second, and we're going to turn it over to you.
Let's see if I can find the right screen here. Excuse me. Got 3 of them. I think it's this one. All right, yes, so good afternoon. Cole Bateman, Coastal Engineering Company, alongside is Don Monroe, representing the applicant, Chris LaCroix, for the project at 414 Fox Hill Road in Chatham. The project consists of a single-family dwelling and a pier, and this project is mostly focused on the pier portion. And this is a notice of intent application. Brief introduction. This existing pier has been here, as Bill said, for a while now. The initial license goes back to 1933, and there's an aerial view on the right here showing that around the same area in 1938. It's a recreational pier for the dwelling, used for boating access as well as probably other recreational activities. The pier is licensed by, the original license was the Department of Public Works. I'm sorry, DPW, yes, Department of Public Works, but not the Chatham one. I apologize for that confusion in the application. It's the Mass State Department of Public Works, the entity prior to DEQE and the DEP. The existing pier is deteriorated and requires replacement. The pier as it stands today is different than the 1933 pier. As seen in this lower aerial, way zoomed out, it's a T-shaped float attached to a shorter pier. Just quickly, the project scope of goals again is to replace the pier, gangway, and float. There is an adjacent salt marsh that one of the project goals is to stay away from, and then as well as improving the public access. Currently, the pier is too low for navigation along the shore beneath it, and this project includes adding a up and over set of stairs to the pier. And I'm going to go to the plans now to do a zoom in. So again, it's about 110-foot long pier with a 15-foot long gangway and a seasonal float at the end. So this is the general orientation. The only new footprint would be these DEP access stairs up and above the pier at mean high water. Here's an elevation view, the same location. So in the dashed is the original 200-foot long licensed pier with the 1933 license, and what it stands today is this shorter pier with the float and the gangway. Go back to my presentation. Quick construction protocol is the work is to be done by barge and by land. Most of it would be done by barge. Currently, there's a portion of this pier is seasonal that's removed, and that would not change with the proposed work. It would still remain, part of it would remain seasonal, and part of it would be fixed. Some resource areas that are involved is the land subject to coastal storm flowage, the land under ocean, coastal beach, coastal bank, and salt marsh. The only resource area that would be changed in this pier is the coastal beach, and that is due to the addition of the DEP access stairs. Other than that, it's just construction access. So any short-term access, but no long-term changes to the other resource areas. Under the Chatham Wetland Protection Bylaws, I believe a variance is required for work within a 50-foot buffer, and that is requested as part of this project. Now, going back to the licensing that Paul mentioned earlier, this is the original DPW license from 1933 showing the proposed pier layout. Our pier falls within, about halfway along this licensed pier and then has a float at the end. This section is down below, which is almost replicated of what's there today. I'm going to stop sharing and open it up for any, just return to the chair, please.
All right, thank you. Can
Can I say something, Chair?
Yeah, one second, yeah, just, we need a copy of that license, the sooner the better. Go ahead, Paul.
Okay, I'll provide you with a copy of the license.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Paul.
I'm not taking a position on this. I'm just saying, Ted and I talked this morning. The issue might be whether this is a new dock or they're just relicensing an old one. If it's a new one, there might be an issue with the Pleasant Bay Alliance, who have a prohibition on docks in this area. Also, the town adopted a prohibition on docks in Grosse Pond. So I'm just going to throw those two things out there. Again, I'm not taking a position on it, but that was what we talked about this morning. There may be a way for them to work with DEP, Chapter 91, to get this taken care of, but the commission should be aware that, those two prohibitions do exist. So it'll turn on the question of whether it's new or existing, and that's just all I have to add.
Okay, thank you. Can you speak to what the?
I can tell you, the dock has been there continuously since 1933. What's changed, of course, is they removed the railway and the boathouse and shortened the dock. But the dock has been there continuously since then. So we don't think it's a new dock. We think it's just a continuation of a modified dock. I mean, technically, the property owner or property owners years ago should have gone back to, DEP or the Chapter 91 office to modify the license, but nobody did. And and because it was a licensed structure, nobody raised an issue. It's only now that the structure itself is deteriorating that, we're coming under regulatory review, which is certainly appropriate. And but it's definitely not a new pier or dock within the meaning of the bylaw.
Okay. Let me ask this about the seasonal piling that are stored on site, and we have something else to say about that, but appear to be relatively new. Like they've only been in use for a year or two. Light barnacles, but the wood is very light. The wood appears to be quite new. When was that?
Well, I think what happened was, it's a little painful to explain. This process began last September, a year ago. And we had some difficulty on the professional side getting the plans prepared. So the dock itself was in terrible physical case. So rather than try to put back the failing pier, they got new pilings. So the pilings are only a year old. That's why they look new. That was so that the LaCroix family would have a dock for this past summer. But they say the dock has been there continuously since the 30s.
That may be, but when they... Yes, go ahead. Is that Don?
Yeah, it's done.
Go ahead.
There's some specific language in every license that's ever issued, whether it was back in the late 1800s all the way up until today, for the owner to maintain the existing license, and if they don't, then the license becomes void. That's why there really can't be a boathouse there nor a railway, because they never maintained it. So that voided that portion of the license. But those licenses that were written by the DPW back then, they were the authority and the issuing license authority. There wasn't a requirement to get an order of conditions back then because the Wetlands Protection Act wasn't promulgated yet. But needless to say, that owner, whether it's the original owner or a subsequent owner, they're licenses that are in perpetuity. So therefore, as long as they maintain the structure itself and it stays intact, then they have the right to continue the maintenance. Bill's right. The issue then became, well, it's now shortened. I think there was a meeting with the agent at the time. I think it might have been Nikki. I don't know. I wasn't part of it at that stage. She couldn't find in her records an order of conditions, and why would she? Because it was an existing license from the 30s. So she suggested that we go through the notice of intent process. That still doesn't take away the ability for that owner, the LaCroix, to continually maintain what was the structure that they bought when they bought the property. The license transfers to them because it doesn't say that they need to get a new license. It's in perpetuity and goes with the land. Then the second prong is that there's an amendment process through Chapter 91 to make amendments to an existing licensed structure. So in our mind, it's not a new structure. It's a structure that exists under that license and has been used in, like Bill said, since the 1930s. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, and it's in the same, I'll also point out, it's in the same footprint
Yes.
as they noted, as the original pier.
Everything is the same number of pilings, in the same location.
Yeah, for many years. Obviously, it's not 200 feet long anymore, but
Right.
other than
No,
that.
as it exists.
That's correct.
Right. Do you need a Chapter 91 license, or?
No, we need an amendment or a modification of the Chapter 91 license.
Okay. Then I think so my last question on that is, so when they replaced the piles last year, they didn't come to conservation for that?
Well, they were just reinstalling the dock that had been installed for many years.
Wow.
They were just using new pilings, that's all.
All right, you could argue that was replacing a dock system, but.
Well, they weren't replacing it because they used the same decking. All they did was.
Well, I guess that we're parsing what constitutes the dock, whether it's the walkway or the pilings or both.
You can't have one without the other, I suppose.
Yeah.
Through the chair.
Yes, Don, go
Since
ahead.
it is, you got to also realize that because it's a seasonal dock, then it's going to be taken in and out each season, and then it should be evaluated to make sure that the members that you're putting back in aren't going to cause a public safety issue. But you're not putting in additional pilings. You're just replacing the existing pilings. I believe they're 4x4s, but I'd have to check the plan. And it's inherent in a seasonal dock. So they take the opportunity at that time when they remove it, before the spring when they replace it, to fix the railings, to fix the pilings and all that. So it's kind of inherent in the fact that it's a seasonal dock. Thanks.
All right, thank you. Paul, so what happens next in terms of looking into what DEP's position is going to be on this? Or I think we have to wait until some of that goes forward.
Well, they need an order of conditions before they can.
Right.
Oh, we have to do the order of conditions before they can do it. All right.
So, and again, I'm not taking a position on this. It's just something that came up, and they'll have to make their case with DEP and also contact the Pleasant Bay Alliance to see what their position is. Wasn't, they make valid points about it being, pre-existing and maintained, but there's also an issue of whether, Chapter 91 would consider it new or, that's up to them. So first they need an order, then they have to apply for a 91 license. But Cole, you did indicate this morning that you probably will be applying for a license or a modification of the license. I'm not really sure which one, but can you explain that?
Yeah, Don, would you like to take that one, please?
Sure. There's an amendment process that's used in cases like this to amend, especially since we're only shortening it. So we're actually amending it to be less of a navigational issue to Chapter 91. So remember the two purviews are wetlands. There's wetlands and then there's waterways. Wetlands, you folks look at it through the wetlands lens, which under 310 CMR and the bylaw, and then the DEP looks at it from the waterways lens, which is the navigational issue. So, and then they do have a provision for amendments as opposed to new licenses, especially when you have a license that's in perpetuity. And so the amended license would refer back to this license because the first 110 feet of this particular application is in the same footprint as the in perpetuity license, and the owner would not want to give up that piece of gold in terms of licensing. Then the ramp and the float would be reviewed under the amendment, and because of the reduction in length, the square footage that the float takes up is less than the square footage of the portion of the dock that's being taken out or not being not being amended, which is that 200 foot. So there's 100 feet of square footage that would be applied under 91 to the float and the ramp.
Okay, thanks, Don. I guess for the commission, those are matters that are kind of those are Chapter 91 matters and decisions they'll have to make. We're just dealing with the order of conditions. So, I mean, Don makes good points. Again, they need an order from you before they can proceed.
Yeah, if I could address the issues for just a minute. I represented a property owner in Stage Harbor after the prohibition of new docks, and there was a dock there that was not in compliance with the original design, but had been maintained for many, many years. And we came here, got a new design approved here, and I think we went to zoning too. I can't remember that part. And then we went to Chapter 91. I actually called Chapter 91 before we did anything. And they said, yeah, no problem. Just request an amendment once you have local approval. And that's what we did. So I think apparently Ted and Paul had a little too much time on their hands when they're sitting around wondering about this
I
stuff.
think that's not called for, that comment, but I understand the process is that once you have an
Right.
order from us, you go to ZBA, then you are planning to go to DEP with a request for an amendment to.
Right, to Chapter 91.
Chapter 91,
Right.
okay.
Yes.
No offense, Bill, you're just representing the client.
Right. All right, one other aspect that struck a couple of us when we were on site is that currently those seasonal pilings are right on the beach and in the marsh, not the salt marsh next to it, but the dune. The order of conditions will require that those seasonal components be stored upland out of any resource
Right.
area.
And I'll explain that to the LaCroix family.
Okay. Paul, do we have any, have we asked Renee to weigh in? Is this any shellfish?
Well, I spoke with Crystal this morning, and she did not have a chance to send out this notice before this morning. She sent it out this morning.
Okay, so we are waiting on that.
Right.
Yep, that's what
Okay.
I was gonna say.
Okay.
Thanks, Bill.
You're welcome, Paul.
All right. Then we will plan on going forward and, unless, Paul, you think there's any reason that we should hold at this place.
I have a question.
How do we, let me put it this way, how do we answer the question of whether it's a new or replacement dock?
I don't
think we can.
I don't think you do.
Good.
No, I don't think you do. I think it's, that's up to Chapter 91. And, you know, whether or not Pleasant Bay gets involved in this down the road, I don't know. I mean, I'm just pointing out there are two sides to the coin. Bill can make his argument, you know, but someone else might have a different view, and I don't know where this is going to end up. Having said all that, you might want to wait to see what Renee has to say.
Yeah, we will.
Yeah, and maybe just continue it briefly for a week and just see what's going on with Renee, and give Ted, if he wants to, an opportunity to comment in writing.
Yep.
We only had a chance to talk briefly this morning.
Okay.
And he had to run off to another meeting. He may not want to comment at all. We may have already said what we needed to say, but maybe continue it for a week would be a good idea, and then move on and, you know, decide whether you're going to approve it or not.
Okay. So that would be continuing it to November 8th, a week from today.
Okay, so if I could just ask, so Cole, the picture you had, one of the pictures you had in your application was from 1978, wasn't it?
That's correct, Bill, yeah.
And
And that has the T pier.
yeah, and that showed the dock in its current configuration. So we have it in 1938, and we have it in 1978, so I don't think it's a new dock.
So I have one question.
But I'll be happy to discuss it with Ted anytime.
Yes, okay, thank you. Go ahead, Karen.
I didn't see, and maybe I just missed it, but can you speak to the materials that are going to be used for this dock?
I cannot.
Can someone?
I'll hand it. Yeah, yes. So the new materials would be timber. It would be almost in like kind with the existing material.
Treated timber?
Yeah. Can you go
Yeah, so
into
it'd have
more?
to be treated. Yeah. Right. Yes. It's treated timber. Piles. I think in other projects we've used in Chatham, CCA, in a well-flushed environment like this has been used for the embedded components. For components above ground, they would have to be suitable for human contact. That would be more of an MCA treatment, which is a lot better for the environment for human contact, like I said. And that's more of the Home Depot off-the-shelf lumber, which is very common.
Can you include those specifications, please, in your protocol?
Certainly, we can include the treatment types as well
Yep.
as the preservative levels.
Yes, yes, thank you.
Please.
Yep.
Thank you.
I got a question.
Yes.
Can we take pictures of the shoreline, the marsh, beforehand and after the project's completed?
Certainly. You guys hear that? Pictures before and after?
Yes.
Certainly.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's right, it is directly adjacent.
Yeah, do you guys use drones to do that?
In the toolbox, I don't know if we'd use it here. We'd probably go out there with just a regular old human being with the photo or the camera.
Okay.
All right, anything else, anyone?
I have a few.
Go.
Bill, you yourself brought up the fact that a similar project came up, and I remember the project too, I think.
Yeah, it's a McCarthy property.
Where zoning did weigh in, and they actually made the plan to be changed.
I beg your pardon?
They required that that submission be scaled back. Want to make sure that there's no need to have this go through zoning.
I was told that I've already received a notice from
Sorry, okay,
Sarah Clark that it has to go to zoning.
I missed that, okay, good,
Yeah.
okay.
Do you have a date, by the way, for that?
No, we haven't even filed yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Should we be notifying?
Well, the reason why we haven't, just so you know, the reason why we haven't filed yet the house was built in, what, '08 or?
2008.
Yeah.
2008, back in the good old days. And so a COC was never requested. An as-built plan is required. So we contacted Ryder and Wilcox, who were the engineers on the original plan, and they said they're 8 to 10 weeks out to do a site plan. So, so I thought we'd see how we did here. Hopefully, after our next meeting, we would have answered all your questions. And I was going to request a draft order of conditions, not to be voted on until after we've cleared the original order. That way, we can go through zoning, they can see your draft order, and hopefully give us the zoning approval. And then when the COC is finally filed with you, and you can take the final vote and issue the order of conditions. So that's the way I saw things going. So there's sort of no rush, so that's why we haven't filed with zoning yet.
So you're asking for a draft order before we go to zoning?
Well, we're gonna meet again in a couple of weeks, presumably. Okay, so after that meeting, if we've answered your questions, you'd be in a position, I call it a draft order, but maybe, just something you can send to the zoning board so they know that it's.
Send them the letter, yeah.
Yeah, just a letter saying we can approve it with conditions.
Yeah, because it'll be, weeks are gonna go by, that's the problem, that's, that we can't control, because we can't get the site plan from Ryder Wilcox, so we can't get the COC, so you can't take the final vote.
Right.
So I was just trying to.
We will talk through all of our
Okay,
issues
great.
that we will hold at that point.
Yeah.
We will likely draft something for our internal use while we still remember it.
Yeah, exactly. That was sort of.
Weeks, we won't.
Yeah.
So, and then we will schedule the final hearing after you've gone through
Right.
zoning and you've cleared the CO.
Yeah, we get the COC on the old order.
So does it make sense to go till next week, or do you?
Yeah, we'd like to go.
Couple more
2 weeks,
questions.
two-
I know, I have a couple more.
15?
2 weeks, right?
Yes, more questions.
Oh, yeah.
More questions.
Okay.
Yeah, 2 weeks, and then hopefully
2 weeks.
we'll have been able to answer all your questions by that time.
Bob has more questions.
More
Don't
questions.
Go anywhere.
Yes. Should Pleasant Bay Alliance be notified?
Yes.
Okay, and so we're going to do that.
Yes.
We're going to notify them.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
we don't.
We'll notify
You will.
Renee and,
Oh.
and have her submit comments that you wish to, and probably get a hold of Pleasant Bay.
I just want to
and
know, okay, just want to know who is going to do that, because
Kind of already have done that.
kind of already did.
Yeah.
Ted and I will do it.
Well, I'm not going to do it, so.
Okay.
No.
You know who's not going to do it. Okay, one more question, that is, wait, 2 more questions. The wood situation, we've actually run into this a number of times where I think everyone's unclear on really what are the requirements for treatment of wood that's going to come in contact with the wetlands. And we always get asked, well, what should we use, or what can't we use, et cetera, et cetera. I think we need to get some clarity on that. And you said, we'll go to Home Depot and get some wood.
That's for the planking.
Yeah, I mean, that's for the planking, whatever. So we did, okay, so we as a commission, I think, need to get, hammer that
Right,
down.
this is going to be in a saltwater environment.
Yeah, so,
I'm pretty sure there are very specific standards for,
and whose standards are we following? Is it state DEP? Is it EPA? Is it Chatham? I don't know what it is, but we keep running into this. I think we got to nail that down before we finally
Yes.
approve this thing.
Okay, so
Through
the,
the chair,
Yes.
Bob Perry had a case a couple of years ago. Bob Perry had a case a couple of years ago where we really got into that whole issue. There were a lot of calculations that were submitted. I'll try to pull that file and get that information to the commission, which I think would be helpful.
Maybe we can finally come up with a little policy document that we just hand out. Another thing, and what was it? Oh, the plan, at least to my eyes, didn't talk about, for example, spacing between the, or composition of the
The deck.
The deck.
Yes, again, the decking would be nominal lumber, pressure-treated lumber. The spacing between the deck boards would be probably appropriate for the adjacent salt marsh, which would be 3/4 of an inch according to the Pleasant Bay Alliance and the
Okay.
2003 Small Docks and Piers. And then may I please just talk briefly about the pressure treatment once again?
Please do.
A great standard that we've been using, because I got into trouble of a project in Nantucket, so I kind of educated myself on this. Another great resource is the DMF letter too, which indicates what they have in their interests, and that's really what we're going on for this project because of the resources, the resource area, and again that they consider the salt marsh as well as land subject to or with shellfish, and I can certainly provide our reference standard for that as part of the application if that could help.
That would help a lot. Thank you.
Great.
Definitely.
One other thing, and that is, I don't know if I saw particulars on the float. I assume you're using an enclosed plastic filled with flotational materials, but not something exposed.
Correct.
Would you include that, the description of that in the specifications that you're going to?
If we haven't missed it.
Oh, for the float. Yeah.
The float.
Sure.
Where's that go in the dock?
Yeah.
Just the float.
HDPE filled with high density or foam. Correct. Yeah. All voids filled so it can't sink.
Yeah, so if you haven't, if that's not in there, would you please make sure it gets in there?
Yep. All right, with all of that, I think we're going to need 2 weeks.
Yeah.
At least let's tentatively schedule this for the 15th.
Yeah, that'd be
And
great.
if there are still outstanding items, we can push it ahead because, as we all acknowledge, there's no great urgency for us, but I'd like to get it done. So does that work for you, everybody? Cole, is that 15th, 2 weeks? All right.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, let's,
I move that we continue the notice of intent for 414 Fox Hill Road to November 15th, 2023.
Gordon, second.
roll call vote. Bob?
Aye.
Elise?
Aye.
Karen?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Cheryl?
Aye.
Mary?
Aye.
And I vote aye, so that's.
Thank you very
See you
much.
back here on the 15th of November. Thank you.
Thank you, folks.
Thank you.
All right, Paul.
Okay, moving on to enforcement orders now. 65 Geranium Drive, Elaine E. Dixon, map 8D, parcel 16R2A. Unauthorized removal and topping of trees in a resource area. And Mr. Riley should be here to speak to this.
Yep, he is walking up to the podium right now. Yeah, right.
Bill. Thank you, Bill.
All right. You may go ahead, start.
Okay.
Need to identify yourself.
Yes, George Riley, representing Mrs. Dixon of 65 Geranium Drive. I went over and took a look at the pruning and disturbance on the bank that we talked about last hearing.
Mm-hmm.
So I came up with really a summation of what I think went on there, basically. And it seems that this bank has been pruned periodically for, it looks like about probably 15 years or so. And so the vegetation on the bank, which is mainly black cherry and oaks, has gotten quite thick and heavy. Now, in this last event, people came in and pruned without approval, and they were a bit aggressive, I thought. And they topped some bigger oaks down at the lower part of the bank. And along the, on the western side of the property, there's a common right-of-way down for the people in the subdivision. And they've cut some trees along that. And they haven't removed any of the slash or debris from the pruning. It's all been left. So there's really, I did a Google thing there, if you can, a Google map. I don't know whether you have a copy of that, but you can see there's the two main areas, sort of in the mid part of the bank, that were really left most disturbed. And that has still debris that left there. Further, along the top of the slope, there's just sidestep for a second. The top of the bank is, in my viewpoint, sort of indeterminate at the moment. Ryder and Wilcox did a site plan back in '86 that showed the top of the bank about just inside the property line, just above the edge of the salt marsh. And it looks like that's probably okay, but I'm not sure where the flood elevation falls on that bank, so that would determine probably whether that break in slope is accurate or not. I don't know. I'm just guessing, really. In any case, at the top of the slope, where the lawn meets the slope, invasive stuff has pretty much gone rampant there. There's a knotweed and foxglove has grown over the tops of the copsed oaks, and there's a poison ivy sneaking in from one side and so forth. The bank itself is a mixed bag. There's shrub honeysuckle and vines and bittersweet all through it, but it's not quite as bad as it is at that top part of the bank. So what I'd like to see out of this situation is that we come up with some kind of a maintenance agreement for a vista pruning that's satisfactory to everyone, and some permission to do nuisance vegetation pruning periodically. So that's where we are now.
And so let me just tell you that this came in yesterday in hard copy, but those of us who have digital copies haven't seen it. I saw it at a meeting yesterday.
Yeah,
So can you send Crystal a
digital
PDF,
copy.
a digital
Yeah,
copy
yeah.
of all this?
I will.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what it doesn't, so I get you about removing invasives, that's fine.
Yeah.
We will have to carefully talk about the extent of the vista
Right.
window where, it's not a
Right.
panoramic view.
Right.
So and that will be indicated on your plan, and I understand
Yes,
that
right. Right.
they would prefer not to do a formal survey, and you're working from a sketch, which might work.
Yeah, I think we can do that.
As long as it's clear enough.
Right.
But what about replacing or allowing to regrow some of the native vegetation that was cut?
Well, I think the trees are oaks resprouting, so I think best left alone.
Well, they'll just turn into oak shrubby kind of things, right? They'll never regain a height unless they're coppiced.
Yeah, I think some of them will, but there's a lot of potential trees at the bottom of the slope. So I think if we designate to leave some alone, they'll certainly get back up to the substantial height. So I don't think trees are the issue myself. I think that if we clear away some of the debris so that invasive vines don't have a scaffolding to hold on to, and clear that out so let some sun get down into those areas. As I was looking, I could see that there was a bayberry and native grasses starting to recover there. So I think maybe if we clean it out and take a look and then reevaluate what we need, then see what we can do to plant. Planting is difficult down there because they won't survive, So you have to plant something with a good root ratio, which is a small plant. And how many years is that going to take? So I think maybe we should start to see what would be the best thing to fill in those gaps that have been disturbed so that there's no erosion going to take place and there's a good root mat
Right.
that goes down that hill. Yeah.
Okay. What I
So,
think,
so to move on to just a second, so I think if we can establish a Vista corridor and put monuments down there so that they
Yep.
were,
that's the end of the process. That's
Yeah,
going to
yeah.
be, once we're satisfied with what's going to happen in terms of regrowth,
Right.
replanting, and invasive management, and all of that is set and everybody's in agreement about that, then
Yeah.
we'll talk about
okay.
the Vista. That's
That's
the
a
last
good plan,
piece.
right. So I think maybe if we'll come up with a plan showing where these disturbed areas are and what particular things we're going to do in those spaces. that
Yes, that's
would
where
be
I'm
good.
going with this, is that we
Okay.
talked about yesterday. Paul, is that okay with you? Will you work with George in terms of identifying what's staying, what's
Right.
regrowing?
Yeah.
I would urge you on some of those oaks, and ask Paul to press on this to allow some of them to have a chance at regaining full canopy
Yeah.
height by selecting the
Selecting
best sprouts and
certain
coppicing and getting,
trees, yes.
that technique.
Well, that's a good idea. Yeah.
And then work with him to come up with a plan, and then we'll approve that plan. We'll attach it to an order that will give you the timeline for what happens when and monitoring it and all of that stuff.
Okay.
And that's how we
Right,
resolve these.
right.
Paul, is that,
Okay.
okay?
Yeah, that's
All right, so
great.
All right, how long do you think it'll take to go through it and come
Well,
up with the plan?
it's going to be a couple of weeks, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're coming into the winter anyway,
Yeah, yeah.
so, of course, it certainly looks that way today. What if we take it to, we have a big gap, December 6th, that's
That
5
sounds
weeks from
fine.
today.
Right. I'll have to write that down because I won't remember it.
Paul will tell you, don't worry about it.
Okay, good.
It'll be
All right,
on
why
the,
don't we do that? Is that,
All right, and then we'll see what you have by then and whether it's all going in the right direction. And then maybe it's even done and we're ready to attach it to a restoration order, we'll see.
okay, that'd be
See what
fine.
we can get done by then.
All right, thank you.
All right, can we have a motion then to continue
Yes.
this to
December
December
6th.
6th?
I move that we continue 65 Geranium Drive to the meeting on December 6th, 2023.
Gordon, second.
Roll call vote, Bob?
Aye.
Lise?
Aye.
Karen?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Cheryl?
Aye.
Mary?
Aye.
And I vote aye, that is continued. Oh,
He just left.
why did he leave?
Well,
It's
he is
continued,
being
isn't it?
continued anyway,
Well, then
but
why was he here then?
maybe to meet with George Riley.
Okay, well, now maybe he's, okay. Yeah, but now, I was about to say, that's the same process.
Yeah. And I was going to make sure Paul knew
Oh, no,
that he was here.
Hold on, he's back. He's coming back.
Okay.
Okay.
Mr. Capodalupo?
Yeah.
You are postponed.
Yes, you had asked for continuance until December 13th, correct? Okay, we're about to
Okay.
open that and grant that, and you just heard the whole process laid out of how this will go forward, so I leave you to go. Sorry? Nope. You should meet with George and there you go. That's the right move.
Okay, I move that we continue 77 Geranium Drive to the meeting on December 13th, 2023.
Gordon, second.
Roll call vote, Bob?
Aye.
Elise?
Aye.
Karen?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Cheryl?
Aye.
Mary?
Aye.
I vote aye. We'll see him on December 13th. All right. Okay, Paul, move
Okay.
on.
All right, moving right along here. Request for certificate of compliance, 131 Landing Lane, Michael and Elizabeth Duncan, map 13K, parcel R7, DEP SE 10 3203, mitigation and restoration. I believe Attorney Litchfield is here.
At
I
the
just want to
podium.
say, all right, I had a discussion with him a couple of times about this. To be very brief, there was an order issued in 2017. Crawford went out and certified that the plants were all okay, but there was a delay in getting the request for a certificate of compliance in. After that, some plants died. They hired another company, the owner did, to replant the area and We sent you the invoice and the pictures. And he can explain in a little more detail if he needs to. You know, the rest of the project was for a dwelling and, let's see, hold on. Demolish an existing dwelling, construction of new dwelling, new landscaping, deck, and walkout. That's all certified. Everything in the project, I would recommend a full certificate if you're okay with the mitigation. That's the only thing that's holding it up, was a 3-year growing season. So with that, through the chair, back to whoever you want to recognize, Mr. Litchfield.
All right, yes, I do. Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chairman, members of the commission. Bill Litchfield here on behalf of Michael and Elizabeth Duncan. And Paul has pretty much set the stage of what happened. The order was issued back in 2017. In 2020, early in 2020, aware that the order itself is only valid for 3 years. The applicants applied for a certificate of compliance and at the time provided an as-built plan from Clark Engineering and a letter from Crawford indicating everything had been done. But because 3 growing seasons hadn't occurred since the planting was completed in 2019, at that point, Callie Harper was involved, and she said, oh, you have to come back in 2022. In 2021, some of the plants died for lack of water or drought and so forth, and they were replaced. In 2022, the Duncans came in, or asked Nikki at that point, to go out and take a look because the 3 growing seasons had gone by. Some of the plants had not survived. Nikki, there's a note in the file from Nikki noting that and indicating that in the fall of 2023 it would be time. Her site visit indicated some bare areas, add some native seed mix and some more shrubs. That was done. The Duncans planted 3 blueberry shrubs, 6 clethra, and 1 viburnum. So everything has been done. Just those few final additional undertakings cost the Duncans some $6,500. It's been an expensive and lengthy process. They would like to bring it to a close. They have complied with the order. You have the as-built plan, the original certification from Crawford, and the subsequent planting has been done. So we're seeking a full certificate of compliance.
All right, thank you. So the invoice for the $6,300 lists all of the work that they were doing, but it doesn't list the actual plants.
No, that's the information that I just provided to you.
Okay.
I have an email from them, and as I indicated, it was 6 blueberry, I believe 6, 5 blueberry, 6 clethra, and 1 viburnum, and I have an email here from Ethier Associates that I can put in your file.
Okay, Paul, do you have that?
No, don't have the email.
Okay.
But,
Yeah, we would need that for that.
Yeah, but the photos were taken as well, which document.
Right, the photos document the.
Yes. Yep.
Okay. So, Paul, do you have a recommendation for us on this?
Yes, based on everything that's been said and represented, and my own inspection of the file, and I would recommend issuing a full certificate at this time for everything.
Okay. Are there continuing conditions?
Your standard conditions, no underground irrigation, I have the full order. I think your original order indicated that there would be some standard ongoing conditions.
Right, right.
Which, of course, obviously would be acceptable.
Well, where I'm going with that is that since the plants were only put in 2023, we could include an ongoing condition as we're now putting into these things that say that keep the mitigation area free of invasives and keep the plants alive.
Well, the difficulty with an ongoing condition, not from an environmental point of view, but a certificate of compliance is supposed to be exactly that. And while we all understand that ongoing conditions are appropriate, such as no underground irrigation, that's in the original order. Obviously, the Duncans would like a full certificate of compliance. The The original order from 2017 provided for 3 growing seasons, and from 2019, when it was completed, that went through 2022. You know, if all of the plants died 4 years later, there's no recourse. In this case, the Duncans have gone the extra step of replenishing and replacing the plants twice. So for most of them, it's now 4 growing seasons.
The ones that survived, that are still there, have, yeah.
Those
What
that-
percentage does this represent, the ones that have gone in?
I'd have to look at the
Just
very
I mean,
small
ballpark,
print.
is this a significant part of the,
No, it's the ones that were recently replaced, no,
Yep.
it was a fairly extensive mitigation area. I don't
it is
have
very
the numbers.
extensive, and there are,
And you have the photographs, and obviously, if you want to take the time to bring those up, you can see
No.
that it's a fairly significant area.
yeah, no, there were
I
there
guesstimate
were
it's
50 or
between-
60 shrubs that went in.
Yes.
Paul, go ahead.
I guesstimate it's over 90%. There is an ongoing condition. This is one of the older orders, so it says, the planted mitigation area shall be allowed to naturalize in perpetuity. And this shall mean to be left undisturbed, and there should be no use of fertilizers, no removal of leaf litter, duck layer, no weeding, no surface irrigation, no hardscape, no structures of any kind, no creation of lawn, no dumping of yard debris, pruning for review and additional planting of native species and the removal of harmful exotic invasive species may be allowed with prior consent of the Conservation Commission. And this is a this was to be an ongoing condition in the order, number 7.
And that
Can I
that
just-
standard language would be expected.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what we did then, yeah.
Yeah. And we've been getting a lot of certificates without, they're supposed to list the ongoing conditions in the certificate,
Yeah.
which would be helpful to us. Yeah, so just a shout out to everybody that's listening, the TV audience.
Both of you.
1 or 2.
As the commission knows, just a brief observation, when a certificate of compliance refers to ongoing conditions and it says, see section 12F and 14G, it doesn't help anyone.
Right.
So it might be useful to consider for the future practice, modifying that
Putting the
procedure.
actual conditions in, I think that's a good idea. All right, what does everyone think? Questions, reactions? It's a little bit of a conundrum. Go ahead, push the button. I can see your thumb is twitching. Yeah.
No, I don't have anything useful to say here, and that is, I'm just looking, just for historical purposes, at the plan schedule for what I think is the outer R, and we would never have approved that today, so they're lucky.
Yeah.
They're lucky they got in before we beefed up our requirements. So anyway, that's all.
Yeah. All right.
I move that we issue a certificate of compliance for 131 Landing Lane.
Gordon, second.
Roll call vote. Bob?
Aye.
Elise?
Aye.
Karen?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Cheryl?
Aye.
Mary?
Aye.
And I vote aye, so,
Thank you very
You have
much.
it.
Appreciate your time.
yes. All right, Paul. Last one. Paul?
Do we lose him?
Paul? I'll read it, it's okay.
I have it, I'm sorry.
Oh, it's okay. You're multitasking. We could,
I did, I had to run back to this corner of the office. These last 3 are gonna be.
nope, we're on
continued-
Cedar
we're on-
Street. We have to do
yeah.
Cedar Street.
Oh, Cedar Street,
Cedar
okay.
Street.
Too fast. All right, 267 Cedar Street, Stephen J. Carter, trustee Stephen J. Carter, revocable trust, 1997, map 12B, parcel 20, DEP SE 10 3429. Project was demolition of an existing dwelling, construction of a new single-family dwelling. And let me grab my notes on this one. So they filled out the form. Everything's been checked off. An as-built was required, been submitted. Written certification on the work has been submitted. There's a recorded order. Photos and extensive monitoring reports from when the order was originally issued to up to 10/19/2023, so they covered 3 years. There was approximately 9,700 square feet of invasive removal and 1,930 square feet was installed as mitigation. There are ongoing conditions. I don't have them listed or numbered. They're just numerous ones. But I would recommend that you issue a full certificate on this. And I did inspect, so.
Okay. So you heard, is it possible to, at this point, begin the protocol of including the actual ongoing conditions? When we issue?
Yeah. I
Yeah,
think-
just so, because I think
yeah.
Mr. Litchfield has a point that people won't know what C4 means.
He does. I mean,
I don't know. 'cause
you want
we
to
don't
start
see
that
them
right
once
now?
we
Or do you
vote
want
on them.
you want me? So you would like me to list those as we approve these in the future?
Yeah.
Is that what you want to do?
Yep.
Okay.
If that's not,
Do I have
yeah.
to do it? Do I have to do it now?
No?
No,
Okay. All right.
we're in all agreement
We're
for
good.
that.
All right, let's move.
All right.
Okay, I move that we approve a certificate of compliance for 267 Cedar Street.
Gordon, second.
Roll call vote, Bob?
Aye.
Elise?
Aye.
Karen?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Cheryl?
Aye.
Mary?
Aye.
And I vote aye. That's issued. All right, now, Paul, let's open and continue
Yes.
the
Okay.
Thayer Lanes.
31 Thayer Lane, William and Amanda Madog, trustees, map 16G, parcel 4K, SC 10 954, SC 10 1201, SC 10 2170.
Oh, just Mary?
Uh,
Oh, okay.
There are three
What?
COCs on this.
Oh, this,
I need a little more time to work with David on, these are old orders.
Yep.
And we just need to clarify a few things because, as you know, the old orders sometimes don't even describe the work that was done. It's very hard to glean from the file. So
Right.
we should have a recommendation to you next week, and we request that you continue this to November 8th, and I'll talk to David, and we'll get this all sorted out for the next hearing.
okay. He's sitting here, so he hears you, so everything is set. We will. Yep. Okay, let's have a motion then.
All right, I move that we continue 31 Thayer Lane for the certificate of compliance to November 8th, 2023.
Gordon, second.
Roll call vote, Bob?
Aye.
Elise?
Aye.
Karen?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Cheryl?
Aye.
Mary?
Aye.
And I vote aye. We'll take that up on the 8th of November. And there's reference to, never mind, Chapter 91 amnesty program, whatever that is. Are there any unforeseen items? Paul, do you have anything?
I do not. Nope, I don't.
Okay. Anybody else have anything?
Crystal?
Crystal, anything? Okay, I guess we're
Okay.
ready for a motion to adjourn.
I move that we adjourn.
Gordon,
Sorry,
second.
no.
Oops.
She doesn't, she said she
No,
doesn't.
I'm okay.
Okay,
Gordon, second.
roll call vote. Bob?
Aye.
Elise?
Aye.
Karen?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Cheryl?
Aye.
Mary?
Aye.
And I vote aye.
We
Thank
are
you, everybody.
done.
We are done. That's a wrap.
Hasta luego.
Yay, thank you, Paul.